Before we jump into the next episode, I wanted to record this quick little addendum to the previous SlimBits episode for Gamer of Destiny. And it pertains both to Killscreen's overall goal and to Stevie's betrayal in the story. And since the last episode included points on both those things, I wanted to include it. But it just slipped my mind, so I'm taking time out to address it now. So when Killscreen's original goal was to enforce his technology onto the people of Pennsylvania, my original idea was that his generals and anyone else who was swayed onto his side would be equipped with technological enhancements, and that would be translated to them having the same Power Glove gauntlets as Killscreen and maybe supporting the same visor. And I thought that would be a very clear visual to people that these people have now been taken over or corrupted by Killscreen, and it would also be a very easy tell to show who's fallen under his command. The reason I didn't do that, I think initially, was because Steve would have been the only character that we would have seen in a before and after state, before he joined Killscreen and after, and he would be the only one to have supported the same gadgets. Dr. Spectre and Bobby Thompson would also have been supporting these gadgets and upgrades, but I just liked their character models so much that I didn't want them to be covered up. In hindsight, I kind of wish I had gone with the original idea where they did have the gauntlets and the visor and whatever other technological enhancements they enjoyed, because I think it really would have helped drive that point home about Killscreen and his overall ambition for the people of Pennsylvania. Anyways, that was an idea that I was interested in pursuing, but got cold feet on, and in hindsight realized that I really should have stuck with it. Anyways, that's all I have to say on that. Now, enjoy this new episode. Hey, and welcome to the 5th installment of my SlimBits series on the Gamer of Destiny movies. This episode is coincidentally about the 5th episode of Gamer of Destiny. So one thing that I've noticed about about the SlimBits series so far is that I'm getting sidetracked pretty easily talking about all the Easter eggs to video games. So, and not delving into maybe some of the backstory and the creative process in this. So I'm going to do my best to pointing out each individual game reference to a minimum, and maybe someday in the future doing a whole compilation of every confirmed video game Easter egg in these movies, which will be a huge undertaking. So I can focus more on the actual background information of this episode. And there's actually a lot to talk about in this episode, at least as far as development goes. This, and I could be wrong about this, but this episode feels to me like it would have the most visual effects of any cartoon I've ever made, or at least but in terms of volume. You'll see everything from ricocheting bullets to gun effects to speed effects to explosion effects to strobe lights. And this was stuff that, as a guy who has really no formal training in animation, I was really struggling to how to pull this stuff off visually. Most of the animation courses that I did take in college, 2D animation, they were mainly devoted to, squash and stretch or character turns, very rudimentary entry-level stuff. And stuff flashes and quick streaks across the sky and glow effects, that just wasn't really covered, and I was such a huge novice of it. And I think a lot of my understanding of it came from just cartoons that I enjoyed watching as a kid and later on as an adult. So it was a lot of just visual references and cues that I had to bring back. Oh, you'll see this moment coming up here when she shoots that barrel from Blast Corps, as a little reference there. That explosion effect was totally the kind of explosion that you'd see in the Contra game, the Metal Slug games. And that was just that was just a straight rip. I did not animate that explosion. That was me finding a GIF of it and tracing over that frame by frame, because I didn't want to be called out for using the actual GIF. I wanted to at least I at least wanted to say, that is my hand-drawn tracing of an established GIF. So I don't know, I guess I was worried about getting sued for reusing an old Metal Slug bit. Oh, this bouncer here is voiced by my friend Danny, who has been a good friend of mine since high school and has I've worked him into a lot of my cartoons over these past many years. So whenever I'm undertaking a project, I always want to keep a little role in mind for Danny, and I figured him as this bouncer class Big Daddy from the BioShock games. I think all you fans would pick up on. I thought, yep, he'll do fine as that. There's the angry video game nerd in this casino. Okay, there's a lot in this casino that I could really point out, like how it's meant to look like Casinopolis from the Sonic games, how the slot machines look like Super Mario Bros. 2. I should really not get sidetracked in talking about this stuff, because there is an actual really important thing I wanted to get across in this episode. And it would be easy for me to point out, there's the Earthbound reference, there's the Final Fight reference, there's the Skyrim reference, and certainly there's the DDR section coming up. But I want to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about Bobby Thompson, one of the central antagonists. So Bobby is the crime lord who leads the Grand Theft Auto-inspired action-adventure faction of Playsylvania. This whole city of Bitropolis is based on Grand Theft Auto, really. Bobby essentially runs the largest and most dangerous city in Playsylvania, and he acts as the right-hand man to Killscreen throughout his invasion. He has an army of street-level thugs and cronies and mobsters at his disposal. He owns this seedy nightclub, and he just has a knack for using people. Bobby was a really important character during this whole process. Story-wise, he wormed his way into Killscreen's graces, through the second-hand information he picked up from Jade. And two major action sequences take place in this city, that chase scene and this upcoming fight scene. And most importantly, he was a villainous character that I voiced. And so I could use him to sneak in adjusted lines and plot details that I was coming up with on the fly throughout this series, which was one of the benefits of of having this series being done in segments and then later editing together into one full movie. So he was pretty pivotal plot-wise and on a technical basis as well. He just made my life easier. And much like Killscreen, Bobby had an underlying theme to his villainy. Unlike Killscreen and the misguided technology is bad theme, though, I managed to keep a wee bit of his underlying themes intact in the final product. It wasn't that crime is bad or that people who manipulate others are bad. It was actually a very real danger that a lot of gamers don't want to admit exists among themselves. It's about addiction. Once Killscreen gains the upper hand of the story, he forces his captives into slave labor. Bobby and his tribe act as the jailers to these poor souls. And the kicker is that the prisoners are not locked up. It's made clear early on that without faction leaders to rally behind, the people of Playsylvania become easier to break or very malleable. And in Playsylvania, it doesn't make sense to beat your prisoners when it's easier to nurture dependency. So they're kept in the big city where they're free to gamble to excess, and it sounds like a ridiculous concept, even for Gamer of Destiny, but there is an ugly side of addiction to gaming. Whether it's the MMORPG player who neglects their child, or the marathon RTS player who collapses from exhaustion, or just someone distracted by words with friends during morning meetings. The reality is there have been cases where people have done some stupid and irresponsible things to continue playing. And I don't want Bobby to be a vehicle to point out the obvious, or to even be very preachy about it. But if I was going to take Gamer of Destiny, this celebration of gaming and gaming culture, seriously, I had to address some very real and often overlooked ugly truths to it. Gamer of Destiny is all about what gaming has achieved, warts and all. And then there is I also wanted him to be a very deplorable character. So, in addition to him just being this total gangster, his name, Bobby Thompson, is a mixture of Bobby Kotrick and Jack Thompson, two publicly infamous men who that are well known to gamers, and most gamers just love to hate them. Okay, so this big dance sequence here, channeling the old DDR games. it's very clear during this sequence that I am not an animator, which could have been like a very elaborate, very graceful kung fu dance battle, or Taibo even inspired stuff. It's very, she's throwing ninja stars at him essentially, and even the fighting that Jade does, it's all like shot from the waist up. And this is one of those sequences that really could have benefited if I was if I was an actual animator. But to pull something like that off, it probably would have taken much longer than the however long it took me to make this episode. I think it was like 3 months. I know if I were to actually do like a good job or to give it to a competent animation team, it would have taken a lot longer to come together. So you're just left to use your imagination for this. Okay. Rob kills his or Rob defeats his second tribe master and gets the little glow on his wrist as a reference to Ocarina of Time. The idea there being, once he destroys a faction leader, he assumes command of their group. And I kind of slyly reference that a little bit. He asks the people here for help. He asks the fighters and he asks the athletes for help. And instead it's the gangster faction that lends a hand during this moment. Yeah, I like this little bit here that, despite all his tribes, he's still just a physically frail and weak fella. Penny Gonzalez, Stacy ++, all those stripper names that were just dumb puns that I had fun with. Alright, in this sequence, I should have had the foresight to make Mia flash red as a homage to the old Super Nintendo and even earlier games where boss characters or even enemies, when they were hurt or near death, would flash red. I didn't have that bright idea until much, much later when I was animating his final fight against Killscreen. I wish I had thought of that sooner, because I think it is such a very instantly recognizable visual to most gamers, and that would really heighten the stakes to this. Oh, that sequence where he's driving to the Flower Star village again. That was just the exact same shots and camera pans that I used before in an earlier episode on their initial travel to Flower Star. But now, because it's shot at night and the landscape is different and corrupted and the stakes have been raised, I thought it was cool to bring it back, but to have the music be scarier. And I'm sure there's tons and tons of movies that have done that before, but it was funny for me to finally take a whack at it. Oh, and the poor Flower Star critters here, their clothes are all disheveled and they're dusty and covered in soot from their time slaving away in this factory. Here's my exciting cliffhanger that he's taking the fight to the final boss. It's fun time ratcheting that stuff up. But yeah, that episode, there was a lot that had to go into it. It would between a car chase and a dance number between our once love interest and setting up a addiction subplot that I hope was not too preachy on people, and also to reinforce his growing influence among the other faction leaders. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you found this interesting. Stay tuned for the next episode. Bye!